Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we're talking nuclear power with Brad Crowell. He's Commissioner of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain. And for over 90 years, the Nevada Trucking Association has been the voice for the men and women in the trucking industry. From Carson City to Washington, D.C., we advocate for policies to protect our trucking companies and keep commerce flowing. Because Nevada's and America's prosperity is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
Meet Nevada Health Link, Nevada's official health insurance marketplace. Your link to savings, selection, free assistance, and name brand health insurance, where 90% of enrollees lower the cost of their monthly premium. Everyone deserves access to quality health coverage, no matter your income or family size. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com. A few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars per month.
Nevada Health Link. Our plans are made for your plans.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
Thank you, Governor Lombardo, for making healthcare a priority.
For bringing the first standalone children's hospital to Nevada.
And addressing the physician shortage with legislation that's working.
Governor Lombardo's building new mental health clinics.
And his commitment to children's mental health will change lives.
And Lombardo's Nevada Health Authority will ensure Nevadans have more access to affordable and reliable health care. Everyone likes to talk about improving health care. Joe Lombardo is actually getting things done.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're delighted to welcome back to the program Bradley Crowell. He is Commissioner of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission. He's been there since August of 2022. You probably know him better as the director of the Nevada Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, first appointed back in 2016. He has more than 20 years of experience in the fields of energy, environment, natural resources, climate change, and national security, and he served in the Obama Biden administration of the U.S. Department of Energy from 2010 to 2016 and was confirmed by U.S. Senate in 2013 as the Assistant Secretary of Energy for Congressional and Intergovernment Affairs. Pleasure to have you on the program, sir. It is great to see you again.
Thanks for having me back, Sam.
There is so much to talk about, so I'm going to invite you back for another show right off before we even get started. Let's talk about the needs of AI for electrical power. You know, most people don't realize that we're already well into the AI age. I mean, if you use Siri on your phone, you're using artificial intelligence. You know, even on a most basic level, you go to a doctor's office and the doctor's office is having scans read by AI before a radiologist looks at them. So it's everywhere already. We're seeing an explosion across the country and the world of the need for AI by all these major tech firms. But the problem that exists is it requires great amounts of power, great investment, and the grids are already struggling. So as you look at this, what are the solutions coming from the NRC? Because this is something that the federal government wants to do, needs to do, has to do.
I think the power demands of data centers and AI have exceeded expectations, and you know the near-term need for more stable baseload power is evident. That being said, you know the role that the NRC plays is as the safety regulator. So you know we're our goal, our mission is not necessarily to put more power on the grid, but to make sure that any power that's put on the grid using nuclear energy is done so safely and securely. And that's what we're working on right now. And we're on the precipice of a deluge of applications from reactor developers looking to develop, advanced reactor technologies to meet those energy demands.
And for folks that are hearing that and going, nuclear power, oh my goodness, we're terrified of this because of 3 Mile Island and Fukushima and Chernobyl, of course. But the reality is that nuclear power done properly is the safest, cleanest form of energy, is it not?
It's true, statistically in terms of carbon or other kind of pollutant emissions. And then in terms of public health outcomes and mortality rates, nuclear really there's no comparison to the safety record of nuclear in that regard. That being said, there's lots of things within nuclear that need to be handled very carefully and delicately, and that's from the front end of the fuel cycle in terms of fuel security to operating plants to make sure that nothing goes sideways from a safety perspective, and then to ultimately finding a disposition solution for the used fuel. So if all of those things are addressed and managed commensurately, nuclear is a very good option for clean baseload power. But you do have to acknowledge all of those tenets of nuclear that come with creating carbon-free nuclear power.
Okay, so for the political class in Nevada, the first thing that they're going to pick up on is used fuel. Now, these smaller generators, how much used fuel do they end up with? And what's the plan for dealing with that? Because, as I looked at the research on this, I mean, the federal government has been pushing this forward for quite a long time now. This is not something brand new.
Yeah, so these advanced reactors, they come in various forms. The 2 newest large light water reactors in Georgia, Vogel's 3 and 4, are considered advanced reactors, and they are a huge improvement over the earlier iterations of that AP1000 technology. But then looking at small modular reactor technologies and even microreactor technologies that are going to use different power and cooling methods than light water or boiling water as has traditionally been used. Now, none of those new technologies are necessarily new in the sense that they've never been tried before or thought of before. They just didn't really take off after the advent of the commercial nuclear age, in the atoms for peace era. And so now the question is, can we bring some of these new nuclear technologies to the commercial grid and do it safely? But the hard part is getting that first one out and then trying to iterate and replicate a technology that's shown to be workable.
Okay, so going back to my original point, though, how much waste do they produce? These smaller reactors, and what's the plan for them? Is it storage on site for the foreseeable future? What would be the plan?
So, and this is partly in NRC's jurisdiction as well as in DOE's jurisdiction. But these new advanced reactors, in terms of the smaller ones or the microreactors, we're still doing some of the spade work to determine exactly the volume of waste and the radioactivity of the waste associated with those reactors. But in all likelihood, it will be handled in a traditional way of needing some cooling off time at the reactor site, and then put in dry cask storage until there's an alternative, either intermediate geological repository or permanent geological repository. But for the foreseeable future, dry cask storage has proven to be safe and is suitable. But there is a future out there for nuclear in the U.S. where we're going to have more reactor sites and therefore more used fuel on site as well.
We've heard in the past reprocessing of used nuclear fuel in places like France, but it hasn't been 100% effective. Are we looking for those kind of solutions that we've seen from Europe?
There's a few developers right now in the U.S. that are looking at recycling or reprocessing technologies. there's proliferation concerns that come along with that, but those proliferation concerns can be managed. If we can achieve some level of success in recycling, it's not going to solve our waste problem, but will minimize how quickly we're adding to the waste problem overall. As you know, there's already enough waste out there in dry cask storage to fill up a Yucca Mountain style repository and then some.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about the benefits of this. As we look, for example, here at Nevada, at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, there are lots of data storage companies and plans for even more. And we're also seeing it spread out towards Silver Springs. We're seeing it down in Southern Nevada as well. We have inexpensive land. We have relatively low cost power. But the reality is that even with Project Greenlink, NV Energy cannot maintain the amount of power that is needed to drive these data storage companies, and yet they can be a huge benefit financially, tax-wise, to cities and counties all across the state. And so the idea that these individual companies would have their own power sources rather than putting them on NV Energy's grid, which would therefore mean the taxpayer would have to pay for these, it sounds like a much better solution for the companies themselves to pay for this energy.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, as you know, the devil's always in the details, and how those contracts are designed and the rate base is designed. But theoretically, you should be able to have a behind-the-meter application of nuclear power that is dedicated to a specific data center or an industrial park. There's certainly some of the big hyperscalers are looking at doing that. The Googles and the Metas and the Amazons are already looking at co-locating new nuclear power near their data centers. I think that's an important application as we look ahead for nuclear, especially if you can avoid any of the impacts to the rate base for ratepayers.
One of the things that surprised me in my research was, and I should have thought about this, was the Navy has been using nuclear power since 1955. It went on the USS Nautilus back in those days. So this is not a new technology by any stretch of the imagination.
It's not. It's certainly not in terms of light water technologies. That's what we've been using in the U.S. for our entire history of commercial nuclear power. There's 94 operating units out there right now. So that's not new. And then, the nuclear Navy basically operates smaller versions of those, either on carriers or submarines. But the way you can, the way the nuclear Navy's been successful because they adhere to the highest safety guidelines. They have very well trained people operating their the propulsion systems on those vessels. And so we just need to, I think as we look at expanding commercial nuclear power, we need to continue to take lessons from the nuclear Navy about how we safely operate nuclear power. And I think the Navy has a great track record.
And that's something that, people should bear in mind is the benefits of the money we spend on the military in all kinds of manner has benefited the commercial industries. You look at the space program, there are so many things that came out of the development of the space program back in the 60s and 70s that we're still utilizing today. And so the idea that the nuclear industry would benefit from that knowledge as well is certainly something we should consider. Let's take a break. We'll come back much more with Brad Crowell. He is Commissioner of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and we'll be back with him right after this timeout.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org. TamarackCasino.org.
You'll be rolling with some swag during the $150,000 Spring Bling giveaways at Tamarack Casino. Make it rain with up to $5,000 in cash every week and 20 large in cash guaranteed during the grand finale drawing. We're blinging in your good times at Tamarack Casino.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation, and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. But it's more than just growth. Our community is our foundation, supporting families, empowering local initiatives, and creating a place where everyone belongs. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Join us in building a brighter future right here in Story County. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Brad Crowell. He is Commissioner of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Brad, I want to get to the political situation in Nevada and how this may play out here. But what happened at Fukushima, the sighting alone was crazy. But you went to Fukushima. What did you observe there?
The lesson learned from Fukushima was really a governance and regulatory lesson learned. The Japanese regulator that had overseeing the Fukushima plant and the rest of the Japanese fleet over time had really kind of had lost its independence with regard to the entities that it oversaw. And that resulted in some safety shortcomings, like not building a high enough seawall for all contingencies and having the backup diesel generators be below grade, below sea level, which is, I'm not an engineer either, but that's common sense to avoid that. Locating a nuclear power plant on the coastline can be very smart in certain scenarios, but often in seismic zones you got to be extra careful. And so the U.S. actually, after Fukushima, the U.S. was the main partner helping them control the situation. And then the NRC helped Japan rebuild its nuclear regulatory system, and they adopted many of the things that the NRC has done for a long time. And they have a much more independent and strong regulatory model now in Japan, which is important because they're looking to build new nuclear as well. We need to now look, domestically at not repeating the mistakes that we've helped others avoid. We're doing a wholesale overhaul of our nuclear regulation, nuclear safety and security regulations, and we're being pushed to move very fast in doing that by the current administration. And I worry sometimes that speed will undermine the quality and integrity of these regulations and lead to something bad down the line in terms of deployment. But it's a very heavy regulatory lift we're going through right now, and hopefully it'll ultimately be for the better, and we'll maintain that gold standard that the U.S. has as a reputation for nuclear regulation.
All right, so then let me bring it home to Nevada. As far as Yucca Mountain goes, obviously our delegation, with perhaps the exception of Congressman Amodei, has been against having the nuclear waste site there. That's a whole political issue that's been going on for decades. Are there discussions going on between the NRC and the Nevada delegation, especially our senators, in terms of we want the data centers, we want the business, but how secure do the senators feel about moving forward with this in Nevada?
Yeah, so the Nevada delegation hasn't engaged the NRC that I'm aware of, or not me directly on this point, but I do know that there's some thinking about it behind the scenes. The quandary is, there are some things in Nevada that are very applicable for baseload nuclear power, and that could be data centers, other heavy energy, industrial processes, mining, etc. But if Nevada is going to go down that direction, there's got to be a decision made at that's a higher level than me and beyond my scope about whether opposition to hosting a nuclear waste dump is undermined by willingness to house nuclear energy for the first time in Nevada. Above, like I said, above my pay grade, but I think that's what the politicals got to figure out in terms of first before we move forward with nuclear in Nevada, if we move forward.
All right, let's take another break and we'll be right back after this timeout. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Hi, I'm George Harris, and I'm running for Senate in District 8. Nevada fuel prices are under threat. California shutting down another refinery. When they do, Nevada families pay the price at the pump. That's not energy independence, that's dependence. We need to protect Nevada by adding another supply line from Utah, so we're not held hostage by decisions made in Sacramento. More supply means more stability, and more stability means lower prices. Energy independence isn't political, it's practical. I'm George Harris.
2025 is bringing big changes for Nevada businesses. If you have more than 5 employees and have been operating for 3 years or more, you must now comply with new state retirement plan mandates. The Vegas Chamber 401k plan makes it easy, offering a proven, customizable, and cost-effective plan for employers and employees to save with tax advantages. Visit vegaschamber.com to explore options and see how the Vegas Chamber can help you start saving for your future.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Brad Crowell. He's a commissioner on the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Water. So let's just talk about Northern Nevada to keep it simple for a moment. How much water do these small reactors need? And is it manageable with the water available in Nevada at this point in time?
So it depends. So if you're going to use light water technology, that's be it in a large capacity or in a small modular form, but using light water technology, that's the form of nuclear energy that we're most familiar with. It's also the heaviest in terms of water use. Some of these new nuclear technologies that use molten salt, both for fuel and cooling, don't have the water needs that the traditional nuclear fleet has. But this is in places like the West, nuclear light water plants use enough water where it does need to be considered and a concern in the arid West. I like to point to the Palo Verde station in Arizona, which uses reclaimed water for their cooling needs, which I think is, in my view, would be a prerequisite for any light water large reactor in the West.
Mining took the opportunity to have their own power plant to power mining in Elko County. It would seem that they would be naturals to jump in on this as soon as possible. Is that something that's come into discussion at all?
I've heard it, bantered about and theorized in various circles, but the mining industry has not necessarily come to the NRC with a serious proposal yet that they're looking at. That could change in the future, though.
In some of the other research I looked at, because of the push from the administration to get this done, and I think you can look at what's happened with lithium, that when DOE And, you know, when the Department of Energy and the Department of Defense want to push something, like needing the lithium, that rules and regulations can be pushed forward very quickly. In some of the stuff I read, it said that we could have this within 5 years or less. Is that reality?
That's certainly the aggressive end of the timeline. And you're correct that, you know, DOE and DOD have the ability to, you know, move more quickly on some of these projects when it's for their own use or for test or research purposes. But anything that's going to be a commercial application and connected to the grid has got to go through the NRC's, you know, more rigorous safety review. But there is a push right now to, you know, really skinny down the safety review that the NRC does, and there is room for improvement and efficiency for sure. But we don't want to start cutting corners, because when you cut corners, something, you know, eventually will go wrong, and then you know, there's no such thing as a one-off nuclear incident. A nuclear incident anywhere qualifies as a nuclear incident everywhere, because everyone's got to take advisement about any changes that need to happen. And so I worry about those things, and I really worry about them, you know, not just domestically, but internationally as well, with geopolitics being what they are. And you see commercial nuclear power plants like Zaporizhia in Ukraine that are being, you know, weaponized on the battlefield. You know, these are troubling developments that need to be thought about as we expand the base of nuclear power around the world.
We are out of time, but please come back soon, and there's so much more to talk about with this. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Happy to join anytime, Sam. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure to see you, Brad. Thank you. Bye-bye now, and we'll be right back.
At Nevada Urban Indians in Reno, your health is our priority. Our medical clinic welcomes everyone. We accept all insurances, ensuring quality care is within reach. Nevada Urban Indians, your partners in health.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience.
Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
On our website, NevadaNewsmakers.com, you can find shows going back all the way to 2002. Use the search box to see Nevada history. We'll see you on the next broadcast.